Hey, Mr. Chalipsky here. I want to go through a quick screencast. We got through most of this in class, hopefully, but I want to recap a few things. So we're going to go over perfect competition. This first slide here, I apologize for that blinking thing up on the right. I got to stop that. But the review here, if you pause this, you could see all 9 questions here, and you should have a pretty good idea to go ahead and answer all these and get a really firm idea of what perfect competition is going to be. So I want to begin by reviewing these side-by-side graphs. Like I said, the AP exam loves to ask this. Is the firm making a profit or a loss? You can see right now that at MR equals MC for the firm on the right side, that's going to be a quantity of 8, and your MR equals MC is greater than your ATC, so therefore we're going to have a profit. So pretty simple stuff right there. To remind ourselves, our key points, MR equals MC is our profit maximization point, which puts us at 10. Our total revenue here is 10 times 20, which is 200, so you're pretty good on that. Your cost, remember, that profit maximizing output, you're going a straight line from where MR equals MC right down to ATC and dragging that across. So you can see that yellow box is going to be our total cost. Obviously, total revenue minus total cost gives us our profit. Remember that the profit box should be a perfect rectangle. The same will be true if you have a loss. Our, our shutdown point is going to be anywhere below AVC, or where MC equals AVC. At that intersection point, everything below there, we are not going to operate there. The example here that we're thinking of is if Mr. DARP was below that shutdown point, you would not operate and your quantity production would be 0. So I'm going to get back to this idea of supply. We've done this a lot, and now we're seeing how these things from early on in the year are going to build upon each other. So we have our 3 main cost curves: marginal cost, average total cost, and average variable. If we were to put Mr. DARP down there, a lot of you are probably thinking already you're not going to produce because it's below AVC. You're absolutely correct. At MR2, you notice that yellow dot is our shutdown point. You could produce, you could not produce, it doesn't matter. You're still losing the same amount of money. I'd prefer to take the vacation and not produce. You go ahead, you shift up to MR equals M3. If we were at this point, we would still produce. Even though we're at a loss, we're covering our variable costs. When you cover your variable costs, you also cover, hopefully, part of your fixed costs. Right there, you're breaking even. That's our normal profit point where MR4 is. And then, of course, at MR5, we're going to have a profit because you find your MR equals MC at 9, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a greater revenue than cost, and we know that's our definition of profit. So one thing to take note of is as the price increases, the quantity increases. It sounds eerily familiar, right? As the price increases, the quantity increases. Sounds like the law of supply. And what actually ends up happening here, when price goes up, quantity increases. When price decreases, quantity decreases. This means that your marginal cost curve above your average variable cost is your supply. So now our firm's supply curve is going to be marginal cost above average variable cost. So now within our firm we have Mr. DARP, the D stands for demand, and supply as well. So can't miss that. MC above AVC is the supply curve. So got to know it. All right, as we look at this again, let's simplify it with just our average variable cost curve. Remember, you have variable cost as you produce, and your marginal cost is going to be your supply as long as it's above AVC. So let's throw this scenario at you where your variable costs increase. Perhaps there's a per unit tax. What do you think is going to happen to your average variable cost? Well, it's going to rise. But more importantly, if we go back to supply and demand, if the cost of production increases, what happens to your supply? Supply should decrease, which means it'll shift to the left. So let's see both of these two work together in conjunction. Supply shifts to the left, average variable cost rises. Notice your supply is still only where it's above AVC. So we do the same thing. When marginal cost increases, supply decreases. Let's do this with a subsidy, or if your variable costs go down. Your AVC is going to drop, and because you have a subsidy now, your cost of production is less. When it costs less to make something, your supply shifts to the right. So when marginal cost, remember the cost of the next unit goes down, your supply will shift to the right. So there we go. That's how we're doing it with the MC as our supply curve in our perfectly competitive firm. Now, let's talk about the long run. Everything we've been doing thus far is in the short run, our curves, everything like that. So let's see how this interacts in the long run. Let's say you're a wheat farmer, but you understand that making corn is going to net you a bigger profit. You can farm anything. What are you going to choose to do? Well, if you're like me, you're going to chase the money and try to go follow the profit. So let's talk about a couple things. In the long run, firms will enter if there's a profit, okay? This is a transition from the short run and the long run. So in the short run, if there's a profit, these people are joining and it'll eventually turn into the long run. Also, firms are going to leave if there's a loss. If I'm not making money, I'm out of the business. So when it comes down to this, because of this easy entry and exit in perfect competition, all firms are going to break even and they will make no economic profit. So a quick question for you. If they make no economic profit, what is their accounting profit going to be? None? Below zero or negative? Or will they have a positive accounting profit? Because our accounting profit, assuming that there's an opportunity cost, is always going to be greater than economic, when we break even in the long run, you're still going to have an accounting profit on your ledger. Okay? So no economic profit is your normal profit. We're going to get to this on Monday or Tuesday next week. In the long run, equilibrium is perfectly, in the long run, a competitive firm is perfectly efficient. It's extremely efficient in its long run equilibrium. All right. So again, side-by-side graphs, we take a look at this. Is this firm making a profit or a loss? Well, you could look at it, MR equals ATC. All this stuff fits together at one point. So your price equals your ATC, you're breaking even. So that means we're going to be in the long run. Firm in the long run should look like this. This is called our normal profit. Price equals MC equals minimum ATC. They're all coming together at that one point and making a normal profit. So therefore, firms are not going to enter. They're not going to leave. They're perfectly happy making zero economic profit, but some accounting profit. You see TR equals TC in this case. All right, so let's talk about going from the short run to the long run. You have a scenario. Just look at the graph on the right in the firm. It'll tell you everything you need to know. Is this in the short run or the long run? You should be telling me it's in the short run because we're having a profit. We're not breaking even, and we know that in the long run we have to break even. So that's telling us that right now, this market and this firm, we're operating in the short run. So what's going to happen? Okay, you can see that we have a profit because MR equals MC, drag it down to ATC. That yellow box is going to be our profit. So what do you think is going to happen to the price and the quantity in the industry? Well, if there's profit to be made, do you think firms are going to enter? Absolutely. They want to make more money. So firms enter to earn profit. So supply, the number of sellers, is going to increase. Look at what happens to our price. Our price drops down and our quantity drops down. Our firm is going to be what we call the price taker, remember? So $10 is going to drag straight across. You see that? It's going to hit your normal profit. Boom. We just went from the short run to the long run, and we're set up with a normal economic profit. So there we go. Now, that's what you finalize yourself with. Your price went down, your quantity went up in the industry, and we're good to go. So take a look at this one, short run or long run. You should be telling me short run because we have a loss in this case. Well, if we have a loss, you see in the yellow box there, what's going to happen to the number of firms in the industry? Firms are going to leave to avoid losses. So your price rises, your quantity decreases. You see we're now at $20. We become a price taker, drag that thing across, and next thing you know, we have a new MR equals MC, and our quantity has increased, and we went from having a loss to breaking even and having a normal profit, which must always be the case in the long run. So that's what we're looking at. New equilibrium quantity is at $20, and we have zero economic profit. Now, here's one that's a little bit different, long run to long run. We look at our graph, we say, boom, where are we? We're in the long run. Okay, we're already in a perfectly competitive long run situation where we have normal profit. But let's say that something happens in the marketplace. Something becomes extremely popular. So due to taste and preferences, demand increases. When demand increases, notice what happens. Our price goes up, and our quantity in the industry goes up as well. So then we become a price taker. We drag that over. We figure out now that we are now in a short run period where we have a profit. Notice MR equals MC is now 9 for our output. You drag that down to your ATC. As soon as it hits the curve, brings it across, that is your profit box. So if firms are making a profit, that's going to entice other people. So other people are going to get into the action, into the market. That's going to shift our supply due to number of sellers. It just so happens that this brings us right back to a price of 15. However, it's increased our quantity to 7,000. Price, still a price taker. Price goes back to 15. So you go from 20 down to 15 in the firm. You can see where the arrows are going. And we refined our MR equals MC. You hit that point, it's at 8, you drag it down. It just so happens our ATC is there, and what do you know? We're back to long run equilibrium. So our long run to long run, the only thing that actually ended up changing was that our quantity in the industry went from 5,000 people wanting it to now 7,000 people buying it. The price ended up staying exactly the same because we have to break even in the long run. And that's where we leave it at. We're going to get into efficiency in the next couple of days. That'll be a big part of it, but this is our basic long run graph. So when we have to say graph for me, a side-by-side industry and a firm that is in the long run, make sure you show a price taker and make sure you show that we are breaking even with a normal profit. All right, that's it. Thank you.